Hey yo, what's up guys, welcome to today's video. In today's video we are gonna be talking about the low ELO Kha Zix build, as well as the runes that follows and the evolve order, and I'll give basic explanation as to why I believe that this specific setup is the best for low ELO. So let's start with the runes. So we go to runes, we go to domination, and then we take Dark Harvest. Dark Harvest is really good because in this build we're gonna be building a Duskblade as our mythic item, and both Duskblade and Dark Harvest reset on kills, which means that once you have one kill, basically both your Dark Harvest and Duskblade resets, so whenever you jump onto the next target you can proc both your Duskblade and Dark Harvest onto the second target and hopefully kill that guy. If you kill the second guy you can then proc it onto a third guy, etc, etc. Then we take Sudden Impact. The reason why we take Sudden Impact is because we have multiple ways of proccing our Sudden Impact and gain the free lethality. So we have our E and we have our ulti, and just lethality and Kha Zix is really nice to one-shotting people. Then we have Eyeball Collection, which is really good, giving us more AD for each kill that we get. So basically gives you a little bit extra snowballing potential. And then we finish off the domination tree with Ravenous Hunter. And the reason why we take Ravenous Hunter is because we do a lot of damage. And when you have a lot of damage, it's nice to have a lot of healing, because basically you can go into a team fight, you can maybe kill one person, then you get to low HP, but then you can just farm off a jungle camp or anything like that with your Q and your W and get back to full HP, and then you're ready to fight again without having to actually recall. And go from base all the way back to the fight, and at that time the fight is most likely over. Then in the secondary tree you can either take Precision, which in my opinion I think is better because it gives you a lot more flexibility, and in the Precision tree the standard rune page will be Triumph and Coup de Grace. Triumph because it's really good against all this after burn damage that's in the current meta, like Liandry's, Demonic Embrace, Ignite, stuff like that. And then Coup de Grace, because this will basically help you in combination with Dark Harvest. Dark Harvest spikes at 50% HP, and Coup de Grace spikes at 40% HP, so this basically means if a target is below 50 or 40% HP, you're basically gonna do like maximum damage onto them. And then we just finish it off with a double AD, because we're an AD jungler, and we don't use our auto attacks that much, so that's why attack speed on Kha Zix in my opinion is not that good. And then we finish it off with either armor or MR, depending on who we are playing against. So this is in my opinion your typical rune page for this setup, but sometimes you can flex it up in the precision tree, as I said. So you can take Tenacity versus CC, you can take Cut Down versus tanks, or you can just take Tenacity with Coup de Grace if you're playing against CC, but they don't have that many tanks, then you can set it up like this. And this is why I like the Precision Tree secondary in this, but if you don't like the Precision Tree, you can also go the Sorcery Tree, and in the Sorcery Tree we will be taking the Absolute Focus to give us a little bit extra AD when we're above 70% HP. And then Gathering Storm, which gives us insane scaling potential, which means that even though the game goes to 30-40 minutes, whatever, we still don't fall off as hard as if we didn't have Gathering Storm, because we still get, I mean, at 40 minutes we get 48 AD, that's like a B of sorts, so that's pretty nice. So those would be basically your options for the runes. So either you go Domination with Precision or Domination with Sorcery. You can try out both of them, see what you like. But yeah, I basically explained like the pros and cons of the Precision versus Sorcery tree. So it's up to you what you think is the best. Then we get into the build. So the build is gonna be, as I said, your core item will be Duskblade. When it comes to boots, you'll either take Tabis or play Steel Caps or Mercs. You'll take the plated Steel Caps if you're playing against AD, and you'll be taking your Merc Threats if you're playing against CC or AP. And then we basically get to a point where we already now have the opportunity to build counter items. So I'll basically explain all the counter items in all the situations that you could come up in, and basically how it counters these different champions. So if you're playing against a fed AP or AP team comp, you can go a Hexdrinker on top of the Mercs, just for having a lot of MR and having an MR shield. If you're playing as a lot of shielding champions, so mostly support champions like Lulu, Janna, Karma, whatever, but also champions like a Lee Sin, a Urgot, even a Ryze has shields, a Kai'Sa has shield on her ulti, any champion that builds well, both Bloodthirster but also Immortal Shield Bow, all stuff like that. Anything that basically shields either items or champions, you can go Serpent Fang against. Then you can go Executioner's Calling versus healing champions. And then you can go Death Dance against heavy AD or full AD team comps. But if you're in that situation where you're really fed and you don't really need a specific counter item into the enemy team, there are a bunch of items that you can buy just to snowball and get like even stronger yourself. The first item is Sanguine Blade. I think Sanguine Blade is really good because it gives you a decent amount of lethality, gives you attack speed, and gives you the 1v1 potential, which is really good because, as we already... I'm basically gonna explain this later, but basically in low elo, people don't group up as much, and people don't understand category isolation damage. So if you buy a Sanguine Blade on top of that, basically you will have the isolation damage from your Q, and you'll have your Sanguine Blade active. I guess it's a passive, but basically it will be activated in this 1v1, and you will just be a lot stronger with this setup. If you don't want to go Sanguine Blade, then you can go a typical Ghostblade. Ghostblade gives you even more mobility, which means that you can move around the map a lot faster, you can catch up to people, stuff like that. So either one of those two items basically like stack a lot of lethality on top of each other. And then people ask me like, what do I do against tanks? So against tanks, you can go Dominiks Regards. So Dominiks Regards actually got buffed and then got a slight nerf afterwards, not too many patches ago. And I think it's a really good item because it shreds, it deals bonus damage to champion that has more max HP than you. So as I said, you can go, if I'm playing against tanks with this setup, I'll probably go Tenacity because mostly the tanks have CC, and then I'll go Cut Down because with Cut Down, basically if the enemy champion has more HP, I'll do more damage. And on top of the Cut Down, I'll get an LDR, a lot Dominiks Regards, because that also gives me more damage when the enemy has more HP than me. So that's basically how you deal with tanks. And then you of course evolve W, and then yeah, you can either basically kill them 1v1, but if it's in a team fight, you just like try to slow them, kill the enemy frontline with your team. Once you've killed the enemy frontline, then you can jump into the enemy backline. But if you're really strong and you basically can one-shot the enemy backline, then you just go for a flank and then straight up one-shot the enemy backline. Then we get into some late game items. So you can go a Guardian Angel against AD, or just if you need that like extra life to revive, you can go on Edge of Night if you're playing against like a specific CC ability that's really annoying. It could be like a Blitzcrank Grab or something like that. And then you can of course upgrade your Hexdrinker into a Mothman Mortis. You can upgrade the Executioners into a Chainsword, stuff like that. So that's basically your build for Kelly. Basically stack a lot of AD, stack a lot of lethality, basically try and snowball as much as possible. That's basically like the main build here. So now we're going to be talking about the evolutions for this build. So the evolve order will be Q into W into E. So as I already explained, Q evolve is really good in low elo because people don't understand how category isolation damage works. So they're basically going to be a lot of the times self-isolating themselves, basically not standing close to teammates, not standing on top of their minions, not standing close to the tower. I've even seen in low elo some people thinking that jungle camps removes their isolation damage. It doesn't. So the way that isolation damage works is if the enemy champion is standing close to its nearby, well, either structure or minions or teammates, then you don't have isolation damage. So this means enemy champions, enemy minions, enemy towers, basically anything that's enemy removes the isolation. But anything that's neutral, so all the jungle camps for example, they don't remove isolation damage. You will still have isolation damage if you're standing next to Drake, if you're standing next to Grump and whatever. It doesn't remove it. And some people think that in low elo, but it doesn't. And that's why Q always is so good, because when people don't understand what Kha Zix isolation damage does, you'll basically have permanently double damage on your Q, and you can basically kill everyone, and you can duel everyone, because people will not mechanically play a 1v1 good against Kha Zix and low elo, so you should pretty much just win every single 1v1, as long as you're not super far behind. And then we have W evolve second. I see a lot of people being like, why not QE evolve? And QE evolve used to be good many years ago, but the thing is, League of Legends is not a 1v9 carry game anymore like it used to be. The game is very much more moved into a position where it's 5v5. Who is the better team versus the worst team? So the better team will always win, but not necessarily the better player. So a good example I have is, it's not always the best player that wins the game, it's the better team that wins the game. So you can be insanely good and be way better than everyone else in the game, but if the rest of your team sucks and the enemy team is just like somewhat decent, you're still gonna lose. And that's just how the game is built, and you can say what you want about it, but this is basically the truth. So that's why QE evolve is not good. That's why I would take W evolve second, because W evolve basically gives us a slow, it gives us utility, and it gives you many benefits. So it can help you chase down people. So if they're starting to run away, you can basically slow them, catch up to them super easily, kill them. If the enemy is trying to charge at you or try to chase you, you can slow them down, jump away right after, stuff like that. In team fights, you can help your teammates kite a lot easier if the enemy is slowed, because then you have a movement speed advantage, so you can move faster and move away faster compared to the enemies. And this is extremely good against tanks especially, and especially against immobile champions, because they can't move. The only thing that really counters the W evolve is champions that has a dash, because champions that has a dash basically doesn't rely on walking, because they can just dash, and you can't really slow them from dashing, you know, they'll still dash even though they're slowed. And in every single game there will be a champion that has a dash, but the good thing is your W is most likely gonna have a lower cooldown than their dash. So if you slow them on the first W and they dash away, you can try and chase them down, and if your second W then hits, they won't have that dash hopefully again already back up, and then you can just kill them on the second W that you slow them on. And then we do evolve last, and the reason why we do evolve last is because it can help you get an extra kill. Basically, like if you get a reset, you can either jump onto the next target super easily, super fast, or you can jump in super deep and jump out again really easily without actually having to die for a kill, which can help you in like the late game team fights and whatnot. And then some people I know will ask me like, why don't you do R evolve with this setup? So the reason why you don't do R evolve is because you start with Q evolve. So either you start with your Q evolve, which will give you the bonus isolation, or not bonus isolation damage, but basically it will give you the cooldown refund and extra range in your Q, which is really good for dueling. So Q evolve is very focused on 1v1 dueling, having isolation damage, stuff like that. While the R evolve is more focused around basically team fights, skirmish fights, basically moving in between targets where you don't have isolation damage and being able to reposition yourself. So yeah, Q and R evolve just doesn't synergize together, because on one hand you have Q evolve that's really good for dueling, but on the other hand you have your R evolve, which is really good for team fighting or skirmish fights where you don't have isolation damage. So that's why I just don't go Q and R evolve together. So if I do Q evolve, I don't do R evolve. If I do R evolve, I don't do Q evolve. But for this specific low elo build, I believe that QW evolve with these runes, with this build, is the best setup for you. And then people ask me, well, you say that it's a low elo build, so what's considered low elo? So this build will basically help you from iron all the way up to diamond, even to masters. I would go this build. If you are above masters, or if you're like in the diamond area and you don't feel like this build is working anymore, you can try out a R evolve high elo build that I'll be making a video about very soon, coming here on my YouTube channel. So if you want to see that video, remember to subscribe, and if you enjoyed this video, remember to like the video, and I'll be doing more in the future. But yeah, if you have any question regarding Kha Zix or this build, then just leave it in the comment section down below. Otherwise, ask me on my stream over at twitch.tv/Kha Zix. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys in my next YouTube video or on my next live stream. See you guys.